So thank you, Katie, and we're going to try to go through this fairly quick. I've got just a few items up here that I'm going to talk about. Sometimes people ask how we got started, and we use this type of fence post, and you can tell it's been well used, bent. We usually try to straighten about 25 of these per quarter mile. So that's what we use. These insulators, they're bright yellow, so you can find them after the deer run through them, and you got about 6 to find out someplace. We usually make 25 steps between the posts. We have a D17 tractor. We have a a wire winder on, and it unwinds as we're building. And then we throw, the guy on the tractor throws these posts off at intervals. Usually the wrong interval because the guy on the ground is like, more posts, less posts. You know, so we get that done. Use the T-post at the corner, stretch it at each corner, and we got a fence built. So my brother and I have been doing this ever since we were big enough to do it. So he and I one day built 80 acres of fence with these, using a soft gauge like a 15 or so wire. Then we went to the organic, but these were the corner insulators we used back then. We still use these today. Just feel really safe with those. For turning curves, we'll use these a lot of times, just not a 90. We'll use these, they screw into a wood post for our high tensile. And we sent his wife one day after that style insulator, and she brought home 3 packs of this, so that's why we're using these a lot. The high tensile fence, I think I'll go to that next. We use these springs, and if I can do this right, we'll use those, and this gives you maybe I'll do it right, I don't know. Yeah, we're not going to try that but we'll have this winder, and you'll wind the wire on it, and then this spring should be through here, and that'll give you the other end of your wire. Then they make a fancy tool that'll click these to tighten the wire, but if you can't find that tool, most of the time, just use your pliers and you can click it like that. So, to cut the wire, you can buy a $48 nice one that does a lot of nice crimping and everything. But we go buy us a cheap set of cutters, a cable cutter or whatever, bolt cutters, and we take a grinder and grind the end so we can smash the little sleeves you use on the high tensile wire. We found that most effective. And then we got our cutter here to cut the high tensile. Can anybody in the audience tell me why we have this on it?
So when you drop it, you can find it.
In standing clover, yeah, I'm colorblind, I'd never see that in clover. So that's how we build our high tensile. The high tensile wire, I asked the gentleman, we put up most of our fence. It was, I think, 1,800 feet, or 8,000. And on a roll, use a spin jenny. Don't try to unroll it without one of those, or you'll have a big fuzzy mess. One time we didn't have it on there correct, and yeah, it takes about 5 grandkids a half a day to figure that all out for you, if you can keep them working. So the interior fences, we use these, maybe, this type of twine. And somebody asked me which you preferred. I'd tell them that this has probably been around for 4 or 5 years because it's full of splices and knots. The cattle can see it. We can go under it with the 4-wheelers, where the high tensile, we just get off 4-wheeler, step down on the wire because it's got the springs, and hit the gas on it, the 4-wheeler will jump right over it, and we're in business.
Still electrified, right?
Yeah, either way. I generally use my hat and then take it over that. For the line, we have these posts, and I'll just show you. This one's been around probably since we started, It needs a little TLC, but that's the only thing I grab in the shed this morning. But they work real well. You stick them down in there and make sure you go on a 90 degree of your twine so it'll stay in there. Don't go like that because it'll pop out. So always want to go 90 degrees. When we're fencing irregularly, like not just across our 700 feet, we'll use these for corners. And you smash two kind of together and then you just run it through, wrap it around and hook it over the end. You don't have to make a knot. My brother and my son both hate it because they can't figure out which way I wrapped it. And if there's more than one twine, then they really get mixed up. I do too sometimes. I'm like, who did this? Sorry, who did this? Something we looked at a little bit was the watering system. And this is what we use for the blue tank I showed you. A lot of times the gurus will say, oh, you can water 60 cows in a 100-gallon tank. Well, we've been in this 12 years now, and that tank will get spilled over, and we got a leak, and then the cows only have no time to drink, so they get regularly aggravated by the time we come around a 24-hour period. So we went to a 700-800-gallon tank, and we screw that to the edge, and then the float's there. And this is the design of my son's, which I probably wouldn't have done it exactly that way, but that's what's good in working about with family. But it works for us. The hose is screwed in, or the male end of the hose is screwed in there. And when you get these, there's 3 flow washers, and we keep ours on the highest flow, so it'll recover fast while they're drinking. We usually leave this on the tank and unplug our...
Inch line in, Bernie, or?
I got 1.25 inches buried underground.
And that valve is, it matches that?
Matches a hose, a garden hose that screws in there. That's why he left this high, so he could tie it off with a zip tie or the old zip tie baling wire. And so that way we can keep it straight, because some hoses will kink. You know, the farmers that don't like to spend a lot of money, they'll get that cheap hose at Real King and it'll kink over.
And that's on the tire tank, you say?
Nope, this is on like a 700-gallon plastic tank that most people buy for swimming pools and want to get rid of.
You just bolt right to the top?
Yep, we got screws here.
Bolts or screws?
Screws, they go to the top edge. If you got to use this, you can, or if he's got his drill and he's trying zip, zip, zip. But this stays on the tank. And we got a hose. We got a garden hose that hooks to, or how does this work? We put a garden hose end on here. This is pipe threads now. So they make a conversion so you can screw a hose to that. Yep. And this is what hooks to our 1.25 inch line. Down in our sumps, we take a 8-inch black plastic pipe, and then these come off of that 1.25 inch, that far. And then this is usually 16 inches down into that tile. And then if the cap's still left, it's been 12 years we've used this, these caps get knocked off, you know, daily use. And then if they're gone, I plug it in and don't hook it. I just plug it in and water will come, and I take it off and let it drain back. And do that about 3 times to get rid of the dirt out of here so it doesn't plug up here. Usually the cap should be closed, and then it'll set in there. After 12 years, dirt started to work up into that pipe, so it's really fun to dig out 1 inch of dirt with your fingernails or your pliers or whatever. But anyway, I'd say over half of them has stayed up and out of there. But we get there, this will be screwed to the end of the hose. The hose will be screwed into the float. This and the hose go in that blue tank. I have the 4-wheeler there. I take a ratchet strap and go around the tank. An old seed bag, the big white seed bags, lay it on the ground, pull my tank up empty onto that bag, run the ratchet strap around behind, hook them all to the hitch of the 4-wheeler, and I can go anywhere. I drag it on up to the next watering station, hook everything up, and usually the cows have had enough to drink. They go to the new paddock, they'll eat, the tank will get half full of water and we're in good shape. Get over there, throw the hose out across the twine where they can't get, or the wire where they can't get to it. Take this and plug it in and and this water will come right out of here. One of these we have a valve on if we want, but all you gotta do is, that'll shut it off. Or this will drain back, but not very much. So we've got these, we've got 6 of those. You can pass these around. 6 of those in a half mile. So if we were really energetic, we could split up our paddocks and have 2 paddocks per water. But usually we'll get 4 paddocks out of a watering station pretty easily, or a setting of the tank.
15 minutes to move that tank.
I'll take 25.
Okay.
My son might get it moved in less than 15 because he may not mess around with the sack and the cable. He may just reach back and get a hold of the edge of the tank and drag it with him as he rides the 4-wheeler. But I decided to quit doing that when I got older. Here's the little deals you slip on your high tensile wire. The cutter will usually cut them off smooth enough to do that, but sometimes you gotta hit them with your pliers. This is another style float. We had on a little blue tank that we use, and we've used these in other applications too. You can screw your hose on here and then have this in the side of the tank, and it'll get so full. But we've used that on the little, about like a wash tub size tank, and that worked well. One of our winter ones we used this, set this and the hose underneath on one of those 10-inch field tile, and then put that blue tank inside of a chemical end of a tank. So we had it insulated with straw, and then it stayed thawed out to 10 degrees. It worked good. We had about 40 head of cows on there, so through the day they would drink it and keep it warm. These can be very cantankerous sometimes. You turn that in and out for the amount of water you want in. But as a whole, they work pretty good till the cows knock them around and beat them up. I have taken old hog waters. You know, we all had hogs at one time and had the old energy-free hog waters, and I've used those, but there's not enough flow and everything to keep more than 5 or 6 cows happy through the summer. I think that's all I have up here. Any questions? We've kind of had a few as we went, but there is the tightener, but guess what? The white thing didn't help finding it today in the shed, so we went through about 4 of those.
On your spring, how do you use that on, for just a 1-wire fence or a multiple wire?
No, this is single. And I'm glad you kind of asked about this, because when you're setting up your fence, we generally try to stretch somewhat stretch our high tensile. And then you want to kind of lay out your posts. And then where you cut your wire in the center, like halfway down the 1/4 mile, or wherever you're going to put it, it doesn't matter. Make sure it's about that close to a post, because this has got some weight to it. And if you put it in between posts, you're going to be wishing you'd put it closer. So 1 on each side usually is what we try to do. You know, we try to do everything correctly, but.
Do you tighten that to your marks on the?
Well, yeah, but we've had other ones.
Till it's good.
Yeah, there's a mark on your tightener that says that's where you need to stop. Well, you know how that goes.
There's different qualities of it.
You smack the wire, and if it makes a noise, then you're tight enough. But you know, 12 years we've kind of done that. And we've built over 6 years, you know, we started bringing paddocks in. And we've set our own hedge post over the years, and we've learned how to set those better and better. My brother was helping me one day and had a nice straight one he was going to use out by the road, and he went zip, and he cut it to 8 foot, and he just went, oh my God, what'd I do? Because we'll usually bury almost 5 foot in the ground. And then we'll lay up, there's a name for it, well, I won't say it, but we lay a post horizontal or on a 90-degree angle about that far under the ground, and that post will push against it. And it helps the brace in between the H braces. We use those, and we lay that there to help with that. We're putting them 5 foot in the ground. We got an extension on our post hole digger to help us get that deep, and run that in the ground a little bit if you got clay, about that far, and then raise it back up and then down, raise it, because we screwed one of those in the ground one day, and you'll have spaded out about 2 foot deep, and a tractor and loader and the hydraulics on the tractor still wouldn't hardly pull it out. So you learn things the hard way sometimes. Experience is a good teacher, but she's high priced once in a while.
That T-17 wouldn't pull it up, huh?
The loader wouldn't even. We had a 200 raising the 3-point, and everything was still squeaked. So, any questions? You can't. These work hard when it's frozen ground. You got to tap them in. But my 66.
Horrible cordless drill.
Yeah, but we done that way before. Any more questions? It's easy for me to think of answers, not questions. So. And Leora's afraid of livestock, Jamie, so that cow's looking at me, so she won't help me very often. She helped me load some Holsteins one day, and she goes, that cow's looking at me, and I go, it's okay. And then I asked her in the truck when he was leaving, I go, which one looked at? And she goes, well, that one with the star on its head and all that. And I go, oh my, that one could have hurt you. So I guess we're going to try to go to the farm for just a little bit. So I've been happy to host all this. I've enjoyed it. Jamie would tell you, I'll talk to a mannequin if they'll stand still and listen. So, so thank you.